Hello and welcome to episode 85 of the Confessions of a Yarn Addict podcast. Today I'm going to share what I got up to on my holiday in Norway. I just got back a few days ago, and a bit of a look ahead to what's coming up in the next couple of weeks, and a bit of a preview of Yarndale, which is this weekend. If you like today's video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing. If you're new here, my name is Anniken. I design knitting patterns. I teach knitting workshops online and in person, and I sell yarn through my website YarnAddict.co.uk. You can find all the links to everything I'm going to talk about below this video, including links to sign up to my newsletter and all my social media links. I hope you enjoyed today's video. So as I mentioned, I've just come back from Norway. I'm filming this on Sunday the 17th of September, but it will be out on Thursday, I think it's the 21st. And as this will be out, I'm actually on my way to Yarndale. So I came back on Wednesday from Norway. I've been to Norway for 2 weeks to visit my parents, which was a really lovely time, very relaxing, didn't do a huge amount. But I did do one thing which I'm very excited to tell you about, and if you are a regular viewer on my YouTube channel, you may already have seen it. So I'll tell you about that in a minute. So let's start talking about my holiday to Norway. I went for 2 weeks and it was a really lovely time. The weather was nice most of the time. It wasn't as hot as it was here, I don't think, but it was pleasantly warm, like low 20s most of the day. Most of the time. We had a couple of days when it was a little bit cooler, and we had a couple of days especially towards the end of the holiday, where it was a little bit more unsettled and a little bit of rain. We didn't do a huge amount. I went on my own to see my parents, and when I go with my husband or my daughters, like a year ago, I went with my daughter for 10 days, and we did quite a lot because we went out on our own quite a lot, and we went out with my parents a few times. And when I go with my husband, we go out probably nearly every day and do stuff. When I go on my own, it's a lot more chilled and we don't do a huge amount. I did go out on my own one day. I went into Oslo for a day because I really wanted to visit a few yarn shops in Oslo and film a bit of a yarn shop tour. So if you are a regular viewer, you may have already seen it. It was out a week ago when this video is live. So I visited 5 yarn shops in Oslo. 2 I'd been to before, 3 I hadn't. So I chose to visit, I planned which shops I was going to visit before I went to Norway, and I planned them in terms of where the location was. 2 were in the city centre, so if you're in Oslo as a tourist, they would be very easy to visit because they're right in the city centre. And 2 of them were a bit outside the city centre, but within an easy reach. I think if you were going to walk, it'd probably take you like half an hour, I think, according to Google Maps. On the tram, it was probably like 10 minutes, maybe. And you can also hire a bike. There are bikes all over Oslo city centre. You have the electric Lime bikes, and I think there's another bike company as well. They also do the electric scooters, and they're just kind of left around the city, so you can just, if you have the app on your phone, you can just scan it and off you go. And then they have the Oslo city bikes as well, which are kind of docked in set places, and I don't know how easy those are to use. Because I've never used them, but I rented a Lime bike for a short bit of the journey, which I talk about in the Oslo Yarn Tour. And then I got the bus from there to another yarn shop, which I've been to before, but it's kind of doubled in size since last time I was there, which is 3 years ago, and that's actually near where my grandparents used to live, so it's an area I know fairly well. And it's also easy to reach from the city centre. It's just a few minutes on the metro from the city centre, so it's quite easy to reach if you just want to pop up there. So I really enjoyed it. The 2 I visited in the city centre was called Frukvist, which is near the Parliament building, and Stenström department store, and the other one was Husfliden, which is like a chain of arts and craft shops. that are scattered around Norway. They're in loads of different towns in Norway, and they specialise in national costumes, traditional arts and crafts. And the one in Oslo, I assume they all sell yarn, I don't know, but the one in Oslo, which is located in the Glass Magazine department store, sell yarn, and they had quite a lot more yarn than I expected. So I talk more about that in the Oslo Yarn Shop Tour vlog, which I will link below, and also link it at the end of this video. So if you haven't watched it, do go ahead and watch that. So let's talk about what I was knitting while I was away. I've just shown you a clip that I filmed when I was traveling to Norway. My plan had been to do a little bit of a vlog on the day I was traveling to Norway, like I did last time I went to Norway, where I kind of vlogged my trip to Norway, because my goal then was to try and knit a hat in one day. This time my flight was earlier, so I had less time at the airport. I got the same train from my local town in the morning up to London, and then tube across London, and then train out to Stansted Airport, and then but my flight was like 3 hours earlier than last time, so I had a lot less time at the airport. I had enough time to get something to eat, have a look at the shops, get a drink, and then I had to go and catch my flight. So I didn't do as much filming as I had planned to do. I will say one thing about the clip that I've just shown you, and that is that, and the reason I'm saying this, I'm a little bit apprehensive about sharing this footage, and I'm really a little bit apprehensive about talking about it, and that is because of one of the reactions I got when I posted a picture just after I got to Norway. So I will say that I respect everyone's point of view on this topic. I know it's a very heated topic, very political topic, and I will respect everyone's point of view, but I will not have a discussion about it in the comments. If anyone posts any negative or nasty comments about it, then I will delete those comments and potentially block people. You'll see in the footage that I show that I wear a mask for part of the journey. I actually wore a mask on the train. I didn't wear it when we left my local station because it wasn't that busy. The carriage I was in was nearly empty, and then as we got closer to London it got busier, so I put a mask on. And because I believe that wearing a face mask, I wore a FFP2 mask, and I believe that that protects me against catching any airborne viruses, including COVID, and it also protects those around me if I have accidentally caught COVID and don't realise it yet, because obviously you can be contagious before you're symptomatic. I appreciate that loads of people don't agree with that point of view, and that's fine. I guess you're entitled to your point of view, but what I did was, when I was traveling, I happened to take a picture of myself wearing a mask. I posted it on Twitter a few days later, and it must have got picked up by some COVID deniers, anti-COVID people, and I don't see comments left on my Twitter posts unless I follow people, I think it is. Unless I go and click on that post later and actually look for comments, which I try and remember to do, but sometimes I don't. And I posted a few other knitting related things later on, and I had a few people making some quite unpleasant comments about me wearing a mask, like, why don't you knit a mask, you stupid whatever. So that made me a bit suspicious. And then also someone emailed me saying, I really appreciate you posting the picture of you with a mask, I really support you, I just want to let you know that I really support you. So I thought, what's happened? So I went to look at that post, and it was something like 4,000 comments, and I didn't read all of them. I started reading them and I started blocking people. Most of them were from people who don't follow me. There may have been people who follow me who posted on that picture. There may have been people who posted supportive stuff in that picture. I don't know, but I just started reading through it, and the hate and the vile comments and the nastiness was just awful. So I started trying to block people, but I thought, I can't go through 4,000 comments. I do all my own social media. I don't pay anyone to do social media for me. I just can't do that. And then I realized that I've been added to a few lists, so I think I managed to block those lists. For a few days I actually put my tweets on like protected, so that nobody else could, apart from people who follow me, could see what I tweeted. But that means that if I comment on someone's tweet, nobody can see it unless they follow me. And I limited who could comment on my tweets. And then a few days later I thought, no, let's just delete that tweet and be done with it. That is why when I just looked through, before I started filming this, I just looked through what I'd actually filmed while I was away. I was thinking maybe I should not show this clip, but I've decided to show it, and I know I've gone on about it for a long time, but I just ask that whatever your personal views are, whatever you choose to do, please be respectful of my personal views. You don't know my personal circumstances, you don't know my health situation, so please just be respectful. And I'm sure most of you will be, because you're lovely, but I have had one or two comments here before. Before we talk about what I've been knitting, let's talk about a new pattern I have released. It's my first new pattern for a while, I think. I've not been very good this year at self-publishing patterns, and that's mainly because I've been very busy doing a lot of teaching, and I've also been very busy designing for magazines, and I just can't do everything. So it's been less self-published patterns this year, but I do have a few patterns coming up. So I released this pattern this week. This is my Glamour pouch. This one is empty. Because I was keeping this one to display at Yarndale, so I probably put some balls of yarn in it at Yarndale so it looks better. But the thing I like about this is that it does sit upright, even with nothing in it. It kind of sits upright. If you have stuff in it, it sits upright much better. But I actually lined mine with felt, which I think makes it sit more upright. I say in the pattern that if you're going to use cotton fabric to line it, I recommend that you attach quite stiff interfacing to it, so that you get the bag a bit more structure, and it enables it to sit upright. It will sit more upright when I have stuff in it. So that is the model that the pattern is written to. Originally I knitted this one, and the final version is actually slightly taller, because with this one I ended up with the beads kind of at the top of the frame, and I decided I didn't like that. So I actually added a few rows after the beads, but you can obviously customize it. If you want it a bit shorter, you can just work fewer rows. It's fairly easy to customize. On this one I used one color of beads, and on this one I used two. So the yarn I knitted it in is the YarnAddict, which is a Danish company, merino cotton. It is in my online shop, but my online shop is closed now when this video is live. because I'm on my way to Yarndale. I will have the yarn at Yarndale, and I will have this one on display at Yarndale. This one will probably be holding my knitting project for Yarndale. I've used this a lot, and it was in my backpack going to and from Norway. So it is looking, I wanted to see how this yarn holds up to quite heavy use, and it still looks good, but it's starting to kind of fluff up a little bit, which is normal with a soft yarn. And I haven't really been babying this. I've been throwing it around. It's been in several bags, in and out. So I've been using this as a project bag. You can use it as a handbag, as a clutch bag. Tuck it under your arm, just grab it and run. Use it for like daily errands. It will fit all your essentials like your purse, your phone, hand cream, lip balm, hand sanitizer, whatever snacks, whatever you choose to throw in there. It will fit. It's fairly easy to open. If you're good at sewing, you could even add some pockets to the lining if you fancy it. I haven't. I'm thinking about making another one in a purple colour. I'm a bit reluctant to use this one because it's such a light colour and I don't want it to get dirty. So I think I'm going to keep this one as like my official sample version, my official sample to display when I need to display it, and for when I do workshops, because I'm teaching it this autumn at the Knitting Hotel in, I think it's October. So I'm thinking about knitting it in a purple colour, in this purple colour, which I'll come to this in a minute. I'm not sure about the colour beads yet, but I need to think about what I've got coming up after Yarndale before I start that. And then I can use it as kind of running errands and things like that. But I've mainly been using it as a project bag, which you've been watching my videos over the summer, you probably have noticed. So the pattern is 25% off, but it ends tomorrow, 22nd of September, because I wanted it to end before Yarndale, just because it makes it easier. So I released this pattern. When this video is live, it was a week since I released the pattern, so it's been 25% off for a week. But the discount ends tomorrow, 22nd of September. If you are just seeing this and you didn't know this pattern was out, please sign up to my newsletter, because sometimes my videos don't align perfectly with when I release new patterns, and then you may be too late to find out about discounts. So if you sign up to my newsletter, the link is below this video. I send it out once a week, and you can unsubscribe at any time if you want to, but if you sign up to my newsletter, then you won't miss any future offers. So this pattern is out now. I will link it below. It's available from Ravelry and Payhip, and it takes 100 grams DK yarn and 1 bag of Debbie Abrahams size 6 beads. I will have the pattern, the yarn and the beads at Yarndale this weekend. Okay, so let's talk about what I've been knitting. So before I left for Norway, I cast on for my Delicia cow. I'm not sure which way up it is actually. I think it's that way. I knitted this one just before Christmas last year. So I released it probably early parts of this year. And the original I knitted was in Monosly Uruguay silk blend, and I actually knitted it for a friend for Christmas. And then for Wonderful I knitted another version, but I wasn't overly keen on the colours, It's like a purple and a very bright green. I like the two colours separately, but I wasn't that keen on them together. And because Manos the Uruguay silk blend, even though I love it, it's a gorgeous yarn, it is a little bit more expensive because it is hand dyed. It's Manos the Uruguay yarns are from Uruguay, as the name implies, and it is the yarns are made and hand dyed by local women in Uruguay, providing work for women in rural communities, and it's the fair trade ethical company. So I really like using them, but I appreciate that the price is a little bit above some people's budgets, and I'm very sensitive to that with the cost of living. So that's one of the reasons why I decided to try YarnAddict Merino Cotton, because it is quite an affordable yarn and you only need one skein of each colour. So I will have a selection of that in my shop after Yarndale and with me at Yarndale. So you need one skein of each colour or one ball of each colour, 50 grams of each colour, DK weight, and it's knitted on 4mm needles. So that is what it looks like. That's the right side, and then if I turn inside out, that's the wrong side, so it looks good on both sides. So this is a Delicia cowl. I will link the pattern below. I will have the pattern as well with Yarndale, but I cast this on before I left home, and I knitted just a couple of rounds, maybe 3 or 4 rounds, I can't remember, not very much, because I was going to work on this on the train, and I worked on it on the train to London, and on the train from London to Stansted, and while I was at the airport I had hoped that maybe I would finish it. I got over halfway, but I didn't finish it, and then I didn't knit on it a lot in Norway. I knitted on it a couple of times, a little bit, and then on the way back I was like, I've got to finish this, and I nearly managed to finish it on the way back. I think I just had like the last couple of rounds and the cast off to do, so I did that a couple of days after I came back. So that can be packed now for Yarndale. So my main project in Norway was this pink sweater. So if you watch me on social media, you've probably seen it over the last couple of weeks. So I bought one ball of this yarn last time I went to Norway last winter, thinking I might use it for a sweater at some point, but I wanted to make sure I knew how much yarn I needed and things like that, rather than just buy a bunch of balls and hope for the best. I also want to see how much she sheds, because a lot of mohair or mohair silk yarns or Surrey alpaca silk yarns and things like that, although I really like them, they do shed a lot, and I wear a lot of black, especially in the winter, and I just don't want to be covered in fluff all the time. When I've been knitting with them, I tend to end up covered in fluff, and I don't like that. So I wanted to see what this was like, because it's not as fluffy as a mohair yarn. It is alpaca silk, so it is 65% baby alpaca, 25% silk, and 10% extra fine merino. It is 25-gram balls, 200 meters per ball, so that would be 800 meters per 100 grams. So it is a lace weight yarn. So I knitted a swatch before I went to Norway, worked out how much yarn I would need, ordered it to have it shipped to my parents. The yarn company is Reima Garn, which is a Norwegian yarn company. So I ordered it directly from them, got it shipped to my parents. It got there a week before I did. So when I got there, the day after I got there, I cast on. I tried to write the pattern before I went, but I didn't really. I worked out a few essential numbers, but I didn't really write it properly. So I've been writing as I go, and the reason for that is that it's a construction method I've never done before. So I'm knitting it top down, which I've done loads of times before, but whenever I've done top down, it's always been in the round, like a circular yoke, and maybe a couple of times I've done top down raglan. I can't remember. I'm not a huge fan of designing raglan. It's easy in smaller sizes, it's more difficult in bigger sizes, my experience. So I cast on for the back first. I knitted one shoulder, then the other shoulder, and then I cast on the stitches for the back of the neck. Then I knitted the back down to the bottom of the underarm, and then I went back to the shoulders, picked up the stitches for each shoulder. I worked one side first, did a V-neck shaping with a garter stitch edge. There's no finishing to do afterwards on that, to the underarm, and then I did the same on the other side, picked up the stitches from the shoulder, did a V-neck shaping. And then when I got to the underarms, I worked in the round. The top bit took me longer than I thought it would, but that was because I was working back and forth on the rows, because the yarn's thin and I'm not, I'm big. I do have a lot of stitches on the needles, and because I'm knitting one row, pulling one row, I do pull slower than I knit. So once I started knitting the round, it went quite quickly. I actually tried it on yesterday, no, 2 days ago, and decided I wanted like about 5 centimeters more, so I knitted 3 centimeters more in stocking stitch, and now I'm just working a couple of centimeters in garter stitch, so I need to measure that later. Garter stitch I'm actually working back and forth because it's quicker, because then I can knit every row, and then when I finish I'll just leave a slightly longer tail, and then I'll sew up this little gap here. I did think about doing the garter stitch for the front and the back separately, back and forth, so it had like a little slit at the side, but I couldn't decide, so I decided not to do it. And then one of the things I want to do today is actually write the pattern for the sleeves, so I can start the sleeves in the next couple of days. I had hoped to finish this before we go to Yarndale, but it's not going to be. This will make quite good car knitting actually. If I can pick up the stitches for the sleeve before we leave for Yarndale, this would make quite good knitting in the car, because it would just be knitting in the round and I don't need to look at it all the time. So that's what I'm planning to do, I think. After Yarndale, we're actually going straight on to Scotland, so hopefully I can finish this on the drive up to Yorkshire, or from Yorkshire to Scotland, because we're going to the north of Scotland, so it's like 8 hours or something of driving. So hopefully I can finish this and use it while we're in Scotland, because I think it's going to be a bit chillier than it has been. But I really, really like it. I can't wait to wear it. I'm really excited about it, and it will become a pattern. I do have a bit of a backlog of sweater patterns that I need to write up. I won't be able to work on this a lot over the next couple of days, because I have 2 deadlines for magazines. One was one I was working on before I went to Norway, and I finished a sweater and I actually left it blocking on the dining room table when I left because it wasn't dry yet. So I asked my husband if he could pick it up and hang it in my dress form when it was dry, and he sent me a picture of it, and I thought the sleeves looked a little bit short, so I need to just check all the measurements again, make sure the sleeves are long enough, and possibly lengthen the sleeves slightly. The deadline is before I got to post it before I leave for Yarndale, so I need to do that really this afternoon or this evening, and then I need to finish writing the pattern for that, and then I have another deadline which one of my sample knitters knitted for me for the week after Yarndale, but we're still away, and I need to, she's done all the knitting and it's all knitted in one piece, so there's no sewing up to do or anything, but I always tend to do all the finishing stuff myself, and I need to just pick up stitches and knit the neckline, which shouldn't take me very long. So I'm hoping I might be able to, depending on whether I need to lengthen the sleeves on this other sweater or not, I'm hoping I might be able to get both of those done tonight, and then I can, the sweater that my sample knitted does need blocking, so hopefully I can block that tonight and then post it before I leave for Yarndale. So I've got like 2 patterns I need to finish writing up and a bit of knitting I need to do on those, so I do actually have a very busy few days ahead of me before we leave. The other yarn I brought with me to Norway, which I didn't cast on at all, and I knew I probably didn't need to bring it, but I just bought it just in case, were these 2 balls of Yataghan merino cotton. I designed earlier in this year, last month to Norway actually, in last winter. I had bought a couple of skeins from Belinda Harris-Reed, who runs the Knitting Hotel. This is her Mario merino silk base in DK. I got the skein of each of the colours because I really like them, and I wanted to design a DK colourwork cowl, so I designed and knitted this while I was in Norway last year, beginning of this year, and I really like it. But when I do shows, I prefer to display stuff in yarn that I sell. I don't really like displaying stuff in yarn that I don't sell. And I did display this at Wonderwall because it does look very similar in colour to two colours I have of Marlowe's Uruguay Silk Blend. But I decided to knit it up again in Yarnaddict Merino Cotton. So I brought this to Norway with me thinking I would knit it up. The balls come in like balls so you can knit from, but I prefer to wind it into these kind of balls because then it kind of winds off the ball easier. So I cast this on a few days ago. I've knitted the rib and I've started on the colour work, but I haven't done very much. I would like this to be finished before Yarndale. So I think once I finish these two sweaters, my deadline, this will be my next project I will focus on. Can't knit on this in the car because I will have to look at it too much and that will probably make me a bit car sick. So I'm not going to knit on it in the car. So, but this will be my priority project for the next few days, which is another reason why I probably won't be able to finish the sweater that I have on the needles. So this will be my priority project for the next few days. And then I'm also taking with me to Yarndale because we're going away afterwards. I'm also taking my lace squares. So this is what I knitted before I went away. I don't think I showed these. I've got two here that I haven't blocked, so I'd like to try and finish the one that's on the needles because it's nearly done. I'm on the garter stitch at the edge, so I might just have left to cast off actually. I need to double check that. I think maybe just casting off less. I'll try and finish that and block these 3 before I leave. So this is one of the finished ones, so that's what it looks like. I'm using my advent calendar from Botanical Yarns from last year. So the advent calendar was 20 grams of sock yarn, and it came in like 4 gradients or 4 fades. So 4 6-day fades. Is that it? 1, 2, yeah, I think so. 6 days. Yes, 4 6-day fades, and I'm on the 3rd fade at the moment. So these, just looking up on the wall, I think this is the last, the one that's on the needles. I think that's the last of the 3rd fade. So let me just grab the final fade off the wall and I'll show you what the final fade looks like. So I've had this hanging on my notice board. I hung the whole thing up earlier this year, and this is the final fade. So I'm going to take this with me and knit on while we're away. I can probably knit on it in the car if I finish the sweater. It's easy enough that I could probably knit on it in the car. Every other round is a plain round, every other round is a lace round, but it'll be perfect to knit on while we're in Scotland visiting family, knitting in the evenings and things like that. And I'm hoping maybe I'll be able to finish this by the time I come back, because I'd like to get the pattern written up in time to release it as an advent pattern for this year. So probably sometime at the end of October, beginning of November. I was thinking about this pattern was that it would be a pattern that you could add to take away, so you can make anything from a scarf to a blanket, and you can do it in different yarn ways. In fact, one of the advent calendars that I've ordered this year is DK yarn, and I am wondering about maybe making this pattern again in DK. I don't know, I'll have to see when the yarn comes what the yarn is like. They are about 28 centimeters square, I think. So they're fairly big. So what I'm going to do is, when I finish all of them, is lay them out on the floor on my bed or something like that, see how big it gets. I'm hoping like the advent calendar will make one that's big enough to use as a shawl, and then I was actually thinking about using like a pale grey colour or something, or a neutral colour, and make more squares and mix those in and make it into a blanket. But I think I'm just going to stick with these and make it into a shawl. I'm hoping it'll be big enough for that. I think it will be, and then in the future I might do something else, but I would like it to be a pattern that can be used for advent calendars and also for just leftovers. If you have a lot of yarn in a certain yarn bed, like a lot of sock yarn, and you want to use it up, you can use it as a kind of stash busting pattern, either using whole skeins or leftovers, things like that. So that's what I'm thinking. So those are what I've got left, so I'm going to take those with me when we go, so I can work on those while we're away and hopefully finish it, but we'll see. So that was the main thing I was planning to knit while we're away. But next I'm going to show you some of the yarns I'm taking to Yarndale with me, and I may choose one of those to take with me to cast on for something while we're away as well. Okay, so I'm not going to show you everything I'm taking to Yarndale because that would be a lot to show you, but I'm going to show you some of the new yarns that I'm taking. So I stocked Manos of Uruguay, and I've already stocked Merino for a while. Merino is there, 100% Merino. It's 100% Merino, but it feels like it's got silk in it. It's like a singles yarn, and it's lace weight. It has 800 meters per 100 grams, and it's perfect for lace shawls and lace items, things like that. And I got 3 new colorways in it for Yarndale. So this color is slightly variegated, that one, which I love, and this like black grey one. It's not completely black, it's got quite a bit of grey in it. I really like that, and I kind of want to knit that up into a shawl, but we'll see. So 3 new colorways. I have a lot of other colorways as well, but these are the 3 new colorways I bought. I also have a lot of Fino, Manos of Uruguay Fino, but I don't think I ordered any new colorway this time. And then I got the Manos of Uruguay Allegria. So I've used Allegria before, but it's a long time ago, and I haven't used it a lot. But it is 75% superwash merino, 25% polyamide, so like a sock yarn blend really. 405 meters per 100 gram, and they do it in some solid colors and some very variegated colors. So I got a couple of solid colors and loads of variegated colors. So because this is a new yarn, it just feels so soft and gorgeous. I'm going to show you the colors I got. So this is Cactus Flower, which is pink, and I obviously love that. Then we have another solid color, which is called Tahiti, which looks a bit more green, I would say, than it looks on my screen. And then we got this one, which is quite a neutral colour. It's kind of like a plummy browny colour, and it's called No Book. But quite a nice semi-solid neutral colour, I would say. And then we have some quite bright ones. So we have this pastel one, which is gorgeous. I love that. That's called Jacaranda, I think. Maybe mispronouncing that. I am learning Spanish, but I'm not brilliant at it. So that's gorgeous. And then we have this one, which I think is called, yeah, Jewel. There is a jewel colour in the Manos of Uruguay Fino, which is similar to this or identical to this. I think that's the same colourway. Gorgeous, very rich jewel coloured tones. And then we have 2 which look very similar, and I thought they were the same, but they're not. This one has a bit more white, pink and stuff in it. This one, which I love, is called Bataclana. Don't know if I pronounced that correctly. And then we have this one, which is called Antigua, which is a bit more purple. And then, hang on, we have this really bright, colourful one, which looks fun, which is, I think this is Rainbow. Yes, Rainbow, which is gorgeous. And then we have this one, which is very bright and colourful, called Carnival. And then we have this one, another bright colourful one, called Candombe, I don't know. I haven't had a pair of socks on the needle since before I left for Norway. I finished a pair just before I went to Norway, and I didn't take socks with me to Norway, which is the first holiday in probably years that I've not taken a pair of socks with me. I didn't even buy any sock yarn while we were in Norway, which is also very unusual, but I bought loads of other stuff, so I didn't really have room. But I am thinking I will need a pair of socks when we go to Yorkshire and then on to Scotland. So I thought I might as well cast on for one of these. I've never knitted socks with these before, I don't think. I used to do a lot of designs for the yarn company that used to distribute Manos Uruguay in Europe. And I think I used this for some garments for them. Don't know. I know I designed some socks for them, so maybe I used this for those socks. I can't remember, but I know I've knitted with it before, but it's been a long time. So I would like to cast on for a pair of socks because I want to see what they're like for socks. So obviously these two colorways are gorgeous. When I packed these, I thought they were the same, but they are a bit different. But maybe that one because it's a bit brighter. So that's one I'm thinking about. And then I'm thinking about these two, maybe one of these two, but I don't know. What do you think? I mean, I will have made my decision before you see this video, but do tell me in the comments. And then my next podcast, I'll share with you what I actually decide to knit. If you see me at Yarndale and it's quiet, you might see me knitting on whichever yarn I decide to knit socks with. And if you watch me on, if you follow me on social media, you will also definitely see it. I'm thinking maybe that one, that's quite bright. I like that one. I really like that one. So I need to make a decision in the next couple of days because I don't want to pack all of it before I decide this. I need to narrow it down so I can pack the rest and wind the yarn before I leave. I don't think I'm going to cast them before I leave because I want to finish some other stuff, but I will probably cast them while we're away and in time for the first day of Yarndale. Let me just show you a couple other things for Yarndale because it came yesterday, I think. I'm just going to get something out of my Notions travel pouch. So this was the pouch I used when I went to Norway for all like my spare needles, my scales, pens, all kinds of stuff. And I haven't unpacked it because I'm going to use it again for when we leave for Yarndale. I got some more of the Knit Pro rainbow ring. Hang on, that was the wrong finger to put it on there. So it has numbers on it and you can actually use it to count your rows or just wear it as a piece of jewellery. It's quite good fun. When I wear it to actually knit, I tend to put it on my thumb because then it's easier to see. I didn't buy a lot of it because they are a little bit more expensive and I was just worried about them not selling. But and also they didn't have a couple of the sizes I wanted. So I have 3 of the, I think it's the largest size, which I think is the one I've got, and 1 of a smaller size. But if anyone wants these and you're at Yarndale or you're not at Yarndale but you want these, let me know and I can always order more in October. So I got a few of those, and then I got these really gorgeous scissors from Knit Pro. These are the rose gold ones. Hang on, let me just pull them apart like that. Hang on, there we go, and then push them back in again. There we go. They're quite tight to push apart. I'm assuming they become easier with use, but they got rose gold handles. So if you pop this in your knitting bag, it's not gonna accidentally cut your knitting. And if you're using for travel, it's a great idea. It also comes in this little pouch that you can easily pop in your knitting bag. You can also pop like your sewing needles and stuff in there, maybe a few stitch markers, and it's a nice little case to keep in your knitting bag. So it's like that. It's the Mindful Collection needle gauge, so it goes from millimeter sizes on one side and US sizes on the other, and it goes from 1.5 millimeter to 8 millimeter, US 000 to 11. So that's a silver plated one, really beautiful. Comes in its own little cotton bag. And then I've got this stitch markers that I also had last time. These are called chakra stitch markers. They're charming 7 chakra symbols reinforce the enchantment of the collection. So this is the Mindful Collection, and the stitch markers are different kind of, they're circular ones, different kind of chakra symbols. I don't really know much about that. They have some slightly small ones and some slightly bigger ones, depending on what needle size you like to knit on. There are 1, 2, 5, 6, I think, of the smaller ones. Well, there's 2 very small ones, 4 medium ones, and 4 larger ones. And they are silver plated as well, I think. And they come in this little safety pin thing, which you can also use as a stitch holder if you just need to hold a few stitches, but it's perfect for holding your stitch markers as well. So I got some of those, and then I got some of these crochet hook repair hooks. I got a pack that I was going to keep for me, and then actually broke the smallest one. So it comes in 3 sizes. These are the medium and large ones. The smallest one I used for something I wasn't going to use it for, not for knitting. I used it to prise something open and I broke it because it is wood. It'd be fine to use for knitting. I just used it for something it shouldn't be used for. But it's got a crochet hook on one end and a knitting needle point on the other end. So it's perfect for using for repairing things, because if you drop the stitch, you can hook it up. If you need to do something else, you can use the knitting needle point. So it's really good for using for repairing things. I've used it in a couple of videos and I really like them. And then I also have some of these heart stitch markers. I think that's it for the notions. I didn't want to go like too over the top, because there's always a worry that, you know, you never know what's going to sell. Oh, and I also got my favourite row counters, the Clover row counter, which is a row counter I use for all my knitting projects. So I have that on display as well. I'll also have a shop ball, sab ball yarns, sab ball 100, lace ball 100, cyber flower, lace flower, sab ball cotton. I'll have all those yarns, very colourful. I have a new pattern using sab ball 100 or cyber flower called Mariposa, which is a poncho, which is gorgeous. And I have my Easy Lace Knits books. My beaded lace knitting seems to be out of stock, because this is the second time this year I've tried to order it and I've not got it, but they haven't told me why, so I need to email them again and say, why you're not sending it to me, but I guess it's out of stock. I'm worried it's maybe out of print. I need to check if it's still on Amazon, because it might still be. But I will have copies on my Easy Lace Knits book. I will have loads of patterns, and I will have beads and crochet hooks for adding beads. I will not be on my stall for 2.5 hours. I think it's 2.5 hours on Sunday afternoon, because I'm teaching. I'm teaching brioche knitting for, I think it's 2.5 hours from about 1 o'clock. So I will not be on my stall on Sunday afternoon for a little bit. I'll be back between 3:30 and 4 for the last, it finishes at 4:30, so I'll be there. My workshop finishes at 3:30, so as soon as I can get away, I will be back on my stall. So probably about 3:40, I would guess, for the last hour. So if you are going to the Yarndale, do come by and say hello. If you haven't bought your ticket, they do advise people to buy tickets in advance. I think, do check on their website to make sure I'm saying the right thing. But if you don't buy tickets in advance, I think you can buy them on the door, but I think that's only from like 12:30. If you're worried about it being busy, Sunday's usually quieter than Saturday, and afternoons are usually quieter than the mornings. So bear that in mind if you would like it to be less busy. And you will, if it's busy, you probably will see me wearing a mask when I'm on my stall, because we are going on to Scotland to visit family afterwards, and then I come back and I have loads of workshops, and I would prefer not to catch COVID. And being in a place with so many people, obviously that increases the risk, and I would like to keep my COVID-free status going a bit longer. I've not had COVID yet. I'm the only one in the family who hasn't, and I would like to keep that going for a bit longer if I can, because if we catch COVID, then we have to cancel our holiday to Scotland to see our family, so I don't really want to do that. So if you do see me in the store, I may be wearing a mask. I hope you respect that. I'm sure you will. Never had anyone say anything to me about wearing a mask face to face at a knitting event. I have had it out and about in general in public, mainly at airports and train stations, mainly in London actually. Okay, I think that is it for today. I just want to say that in September I'm doing 4 videos every Tuesday on various stretchy cast-offs. So we've already done, first one was Russian cast-off, which is my preferred stretchy cast-off that I use for lace shawls. Then last week it was the lace cast-off, which I don't think is quite as stretchy as the Russian cast-off. And then this week I have forgotten to check what it is, but it will either be the Icelandic cast-off or the sewn cast-off, and then the last one will be next week. Next week there will probably be another video. I have a couple of videos I've recorded, so it'll be one of those on Thursday next week, and then hopefully the week after I will be back with a podcast. In October, I'm doing Vlogtober again. Vlogtober, I think the aim is that you post daily videos, like vlog style videos. I'm not going to post a daily video because that would just be way too much, but my goal is to try and post 3 times a week. So I will continue to post Tuesday and Thursday like I have done for the last little bit, and then hopefully I will post on maybe Saturdays. Maybe I'm going to try and do Tuesday, Thursday and Saturday. First week in October there will definitely be like a podcast episode because I got to catch you up on what I've been doing while I've been away at Yarndale and in Scotland, and then I don't know what we can do for the rest of the month. Maybe do more vlog style day-to-day stuff, kind of show you what I get up to day-to-day. Once I get back from Scotland, I have workshops every single week till the middle of December. I think my last workshop is like the 15th of December or something like that, and then 4 days after that I go to Norway for Christmas, so it's going to be a very busy autumn, but I'm very excited about it. Oh, and that's another thing I wanted to mention was some of the stuff that's coming up this autumn. So let me just check my notebooks. I did write it down because I won't remember otherwise. So 3 Bags Full is my local yarn festival here in Liskeard in Cornwall. If you don't live in Cornwall, if you're coming on the train from Devon, for example, we're on the main Plymouth to Penzance or London to Penzance train line, and it is probably about 10-15 minutes to walk from the train station into the city centre, into the town centre. So there is the wool market on the 7th of October. It's a day-long event on the 7th of October. It's not massive because we're only a small town, but it is a good selection of stalls, including a few people who travelled a bit further away, and also some local stalls, some local businesses as well. So that's really nice to see, some local Cornish indie dyes and things like that. So I really enjoyed that, and I'm going to be there as well with all my stuff. So that's the 7th of October, which is a Saturday, and then in the 2 weeks following that there are a series of workshops in Liskeard. They are run by various people. I'm running 4 half-day ones and 1 full-day one, but loads of other tutors are running workshops as well on all kinds of woolly related things, so knitting, crochet, spinning, felting possibly. I haven't looked at the full list, but there's usually a big choice, not just knitting. So I'm doing half-day workshops in brioche knitting, mosaic knitting, the Vespi cowl and continental knitting, and then I'm doing a full day workshop in brioche cowls. So that's suitable for people who have done basic brioche before. You need to be able to do basic 2-colour brioche, and then you'll get a choice of 3 cowl patterns. My easiest one is the Cool's cowl, which is just plain 2-colour brioche, syncopated brioche. So if you just want to practice that, you can do that. And then it's my Delightful cowl and Delicia cowl, which are a little bit more difficult, and so you'll learn how to knit brioche in the round. If you want to do the more difficult cowls, how to work increases and decreases to create beautiful patterns, or you can just stick to the Cool's cowl and really focus on nailing the basic 2-colour brioche and syncopated brioche and brioche in the round. So that's a full day workshop. And then I have some workshops coming up at Spinny Yarn in Bovey Tracy in Devon. On 31st of October I'm doing finishing techniques. So if you want to learn how to sew up and do 3-needle cast off and short row shoulder shaping and 1-row buttonholes and picking up stitches and loads of stuff like that, that's your workshop to do. If you knit sweaters or garments or cardigans or anything like that, you really should be taking a finishing techniques workshop. And you get my online finishing technique workshop or course for free after that class. So anyone who takes my in-person finishing techniques workshops get my online finishing techniques course for free. And then on 9th of November I'm doing brioche cowls at Spinny Yarn as well, so already talked about that. I'm also doing those workshops at the Knitting Hotel. I would imagine those are already fully booked. I know they take day guests as well, so if you can always contact Belinda at the Knitting Hotel and see if she's got any cancellations. I know she has a waiting list, And she also does day guests. If you are local and you just want to come for the day for the workshop, or you can come for every day for the whole weekend, you can either stay somewhere else locally, or you can, if you live locally, you can just come for the day. And I know you can just do the workshop, or you can do the whole weekend. So if you're interested in that, contact Belinda at the Knitting Hotel. I'm teaching loads of stuff there this autumn. Can't remember it all off the top of my head now, but I will link my workshop page below. All the workshops are on the page on my website, so I will link that below. So do go and check that out, and don't forget to sign up to my newsletter and check me out on social media. I am on Instagram, TikTok, still getting to grips with TikTok, Twitter or X, and Threads, and Blue Sky. I don't post very often on Blue Sky. I'm trying to post more on Threads. And my username on all those is YarnAddict Annie, which is also my username on Ravelry. And I'll pop all the links below. Thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it. I hope you'll go and check out my Oslo Yarn Shop vlog if you haven't seen that already. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and do subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.